guys, I'm ElenaVe and welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to see you guys come back, and I'm also happy to see a couple new faces. If you're not already a part of this tight-knit community, be sure to hit that subscribe button and that ring bell notification so you'll always be notified as to when I upload a new video. Alright, without any further ado, let's just jump into today's video. Even though I wanted Paulette Jordan to be governor of Idaho, I already knew how deep of a red state Idaho is, so I pretty much knew that Brad Little kind of had it. Yes, I know that Brad Little was going to win the election. Why did I know that? Because I know how densely populated Idaho is when it comes to Republican voters. However, I just really anticipated a more progressed form of thinking when it came to voting in this election, because I have felt over the years that Idaho has progressed forward in its progressive thought. And yes, when I say progressive, I do mean partisan progressive. I'm just disappointed that, I guess you could say that we haven't progressed enough as a state, as a people within our state, to even consider the other candidate as a viable enough candidate to be considered into leadership. I always thought of Idaho as continuously progressing into political thought and political issues, but you have to consider the factor of the person, and that factor, which we like to call the people factor, isn't necessarily measurable like we would like to think it is in political science. And a lot of times we have to default to the fact that people are creatures of habit. They don't like anything new. They don't really like change. And running on the notion of change and running on the notion of something new definitely, I feel, kind of put the nail in the coffin with Paulette Jordan's campaign. What I mean by that is, even though Paulette Jordan was still considered a moderate, we saw from the Republican Party how vigorously they attacked Paulette Jordan based on the fact that she was running as a Democrat, allowing them to fearmonger, their base and people who might see campaign ads. They really wanted to pin her as the woman who's running, who's pro-Californian progressive political ideals, which to me, in essence, is kind of baffling, considered yet California progressive thought is a lot different than Idaho progressive thought, considering the cultures that exist in either state. The culture in California is a lot different than the culture that we have here. So trying to pin somebody as a progressive Californian in Idaho doesn't make sense to me, but I guess it was an effective message to get people to the polls to vote against her. And even though we saw from the Republican Party this momentum of people who were really concerned about her candidacy, and it shows the insecurities of the Republican base to go that far as to just blatantly attack her relentlessly and use fear-mongering tactics to get people to the polls to vote against her. I think one thing that really upset me about this whole election cycle was just the fear-mongering. And we see fear-mongering coming out and being more prevalent. Fear-mongering to me should fall under that same spectrum of fake news. It just seeks to play on people's most insecure notions about politics, our environment, and the way that we live. It really does play on the insecurities of people on such a deep level. I was just hoping that with the momentum and the inspiring message that we saw from Paulette Jordan, more people were going to hop on. And I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy here. If you want to put a positive spin on things, I guess we could say, hey, more people are registered to vote, more people are politically active, which is fantastic. More people might have been introduced to a political thought that they may have never been able to stumble upon if it wasn't for the fact that Paulette Jordan was running as a governor, and she was bringing forth these newer progressive thoughts that I think would mainly benefit us. We've seen a lot of wins when it comes to women and minorities on the national level. We got to see Prop 2 pass, which is going to help 62,000 Idahoans now qualified for Medicaid, which they would have never qualified before. In all, we do have a lot of things to be happy about, even if Paulette Jordan did not win as governor. But it does not mean that this is a time to give up. This just means it's a time to work harder, be more involved, educate our neighbors and the people that mean a lot to us, because on election day, that's all I was doing. I was helping people register to vote. I was helping them with knowing their voter rights. I think one thing that I know for a fact keeps people from going to the polls, especially minorities, is that there is very little education on how to go about voting, how to register to vote, your rights as a voter, and because of that, we don't see very many people going to the polls like we would like to see, especially from minority communities and for me, Hispanic communities. That's just basically my thoughts when it comes to these midterm elections that just had passed us recently. So please let me know what you thought about this in the comment box below. Be sure to follow me on my social media. The links to those accounts will be listed in the description box below. Again, I'm ElenaVe. Thank you for watching, and remember, always leave things better than how you found it. Bye!